Yeah, so what I teach is intimacy creation. And that's what's the book is mostly about, is about creating real intimacy. And what I generally teach as sort of it's the beginning method is something called emotional questions. And emotional questions are a technique that I developed using some of the neuroscience about how attraction happens, and also that very fun New York Times article that came out, 36 questions to fall in love, which
Hmm.
is this idea that you can ask these 36 questions in a specific order and fall in love with anyone is the idea.
Was there any truth to it?
People experience deeper levels of intimacy. That's what happens is once you get into this conversation that's very intentional and very intimate and emotionally connected, you can end up feeling that you're in love with someone. Now,
Hmm.
what love is a little bit of a philosophical debate. Um, so
Is
I
that how people start kind of falling for their therapists and so forth because of that kind of intimacy in the questions?
Absolutely, right? Because you feel emotionally
That
connected
makes
to
sense.
them at a very deep level. Yeah, exactly. Um, so my questions are a little bit more the method I teach of emotional questions are not quite as pointed. Like I don't say just use the 36 questions and then you'll have a successful date. What I teach are these emotional questions, which are open-ended questions, and they have an emotional word in them. So an emotional word is any feeling word. So like feel is an emotional word, love is an emotional word, hate is an emotional word, and then any of the kind of the adverbs that get at an emotion, so like worst, favorite, um, and anything that's going to elicit an emotional response from the person being asked the question is an emotional question. So an example of that would be, how do you feel about your job? Right? And that's different from what do you do? Right?
Hmm.
You can probably feel that, right?
And you're
So
gonna get a better answer too,
exactly. That's exactly it. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Because you ask, "What do you do?" "I do X," as opposed to, "How do you feel about it?" Well, and I mean, you can't just say, "Well, I do this." You gotta explain.
Exactly. And that way you learn what the other person actually thinks, right? You learn how they actually relate to the work that they do, and usually a bunch of other stuff. And that's a much better way to tell whether they are compatible with you and whether you're interested in who they are at a deeper level. Than just knowing like, well, I'm a software developer with, you know, such and such company. That really doesn't tell you anything about them in the end.